Before we begin, remember crimes like this aren't supposed to happen anymore. They said the system was foolproof. They said no one could beat Wall Street. But if you believe that, you've clearly never met Daniel Raines. Hit that subscribe button because what you're about to hear will make you question everything you think you know about security, trust, and greed. New York City, Monday, 7:45 a.m. The morning began like any other on Liberty Street, cold, gray, and impatient. Coffee cups steaming, shoes slapping on concrete, traders rushing toward glass towers that glittered with other people's money. But inside the marble lobby of Harrington and Pierce Securities, something was wrong, very wrong. An intern was the first to notice. The vault room's biometric scanner wasn't responding. No alarms, no forced entry, just a silent, uncooperative door guarding over $50 million in U.S. Treasury bearer bonds. When the security chief finally opened it manually, every shelf inside was empty. Not ransacked, not broken, just gone. Within an hour, the FBI's white-collar division had arrived. By noon, the building was sealed. No fingerprints, no camera footage, no access logs. Whoever did this, they didn't use a gun or a computer. They used something much more dangerous: knowledge. Agent Marla Kincaid had seen every kind of fraud, insider trading, digital scams, embezzlement schemes, but never anything like this. "These bonds," she muttered, scanning the report. "They're physical, paper, serial numbered. Whoever took them didn't hack the system. They outsmarted it." Her partner, Agent Ryan Cole, a former bank auditor with a quiet temper, leaned back in his chair. If they knew how bearer bonds worked, they wouldn't need to touch a keyboard. Possession equals ownership. No name, no trail. Kincaid glanced up. "So whoever has them now owns $50 million? Cole nodded. "Legally speaking, yes. Until we prove they stole them, yes." Meanwhile, across the Hudson River in Jersey City, a man in his 40s watched the chaos unfold on a small television in a dim apartment. He stirred his coffee, half smiling. His suit hung neatly on the chair beside him, and on the table lay an old leather briefcase, the kind corporate men used before the digital age took over.
Inside that briefcase were bonds. Real, tangible bonds. Thousands of them, crisp and clean, each worth more than most people would make in a lifetime. His name was Daniel Raines, former compliance officer at Harrington and Pierce. If you met him, you wouldn't remember him. Average build, clean cut, the type of man who blended in perfectly with office wallpaper. But Daniel had spent 15 years watching how money really moved, not through firewalls or stock trades, but through loopholes, laziness, and trust. He hadn't hacked a system. He had become one. FBI analysts tore through digital records, transaction logs, and employee files. Nothing. The vault's access records showed no unauthorized entries. The only people with clearance were 3 executives, all accounted for, all clean. Then came the first strange clue, a delivery log from 2 nights before. An after-hours courier signed in to drop off internal audit files. Signature, D. Raines. Except Daniel Raines had resigned 2 weeks ago. Kincaid leaned back, tapping her pen against the table. She walked in, signed his name, and nobody questioned it? The building manager looked pale. He'd worked here 15 years. Everyone knew him. Why would we? That was the genius of it. Daniel didn't need to sneak past security. He was security, until he wasn't. FBI analysts tore through digital records, transaction logs, and employee files. Nothing. The vault's access records showed no unauthorized entries. The only people with clearance were 3 executives, all accounted for, all clean. Then came the first strange clue, a delivery log from 2 nights before. An after-hours courier signed in to drop off internal audit files. Signature, D. Raines. Except Daniel Raines had resigned 2 weeks ago. Kincaid leaned back, tapping her pen against the table. She walked in, signed his name, and nobody questioned it? The building manager looked pale. He'd worked here 15 years. Everyone knew him. Why would we? That was the genius of it. Daniel didn't need to sneak past security. He was security, until he wasn't. Investigators traced his address. The apartment was empty. Bed neatly made, toothbrush still in the cup, refrigerator unplugged, but on the nightstand sat a folded note. If you're reading this, it means the system finally noticed, but the truth is, it lost long before I arrived. No fingerprints, no handwriting match, just that line, left like a riddle. Cole stared at the paper. He's mocking us. Kincaid shook her head. No, he's proving something. He wants us to understand how he did it. 3 days later, a call came in from a securities exchange in Zurich, Switzerland. Someone had attempted to deposit Treasury bearer bonds matching the stolen serial numbers. The courier? A woman named Ava Leclerc, a French national with no prior record, but surveillance caught something peculiar. She arrived carrying that same kind of worn leather briefcase. Interpol detained her at the airport. Inside her case, only photocopies, no originals. She swore she'd been paid by a man named David Rowan to deliver them, all legal, all routine.
But when the FBI traced the bank account used to pay her, it led back to a holding company registered in Delaware. The director's name? Daniel Raines. The case hit national headlines. Wall Street ghost steals $50 million. No alarms triggered. Talk shows speculated he used insider knowledge, a master key, maybe even bribed a vault guard. But to Kincaid, it didn't add up. Every system log showed a legitimate transaction, as if the bonds had been authorized to leave the building. She found the missing piece buried in the archives, a 6-month-old compliance memo authored by Daniel himself. It proposed a new internal audit procedure requiring physical verification of bond certificates every quarter. He'd written the rule that let him walk them right out the door. By the end of the week, the Bureau had connected Raines to at least 4 shell corporations across New York, Miami, and London, but none of them held the real bonds. They were vanishing, one by one, as if evaporating into thin air. And then came the break. A customs agent at JFK flagged a diplomatic courier bag bound for Panama. Inside, 5 bearer bonds, totaling $2 million. The bag had diplomatic clearance from a private embassy Daniel once audited years before. That's when Kincaid realized this wasn't just theft, it was revenge. Daniel hadn't stolen for money. He was dismantling the system that had discarded him, piece by piece, country by country. But what no one knew yet was that Daniel wasn't working alone. Someone inside the Bureau was helping him disappear. When Agent Kincaid returned to her car that night, a folded envelope waited under the windshield wiper. Inside was a single bond certificate, one of the stolen ones, and on its back, in neat handwriting, a message. You're closer than you think, but are you sure you're on the right side? FBI Headquarters, Washington, D.C. Agent Marla Kincaid stared at the bond lying on her desk. It was one of the stolen ones. Verified, traced, logged, but no one could explain how it had ended up on her car. She turned it over, reading the handwritten message again.
You're closer than you think, but are you sure you're on the right side? Her partner, Ryan Cole, watched her from the doorway. You think he's taunting you? He asked. Kincaid shook her head. No, he's warning me. They both knew what that meant. Daniel Raines was still watching. By now, the case had gone international. Interpol, the US Treasury, and even MI5 were coordinating. Millions in bearer bonds had surfaced across Europe, Zurich, Monaco, Luxembourg, always through intermediaries who claimed they'd been hired legally. Every trail circled back to the same shadow network of shell companies, all registered years before Rains resigned. He'd planned this for decades. Cole leaned over the caseboard filled with red strings and pinned photographs. He didn't just take the money, he built a maze before he ever left the office. Kincaid studied a map of financial hubs across Europe. Zurich, Panama, Monaco, these aren't random. He's following a pattern. Every location ties to an old Harrington and Pierce account. He's hitting the same firms that used to handle offshore transfers for their clients. Cole frowned. He's not stealing from the company anymore. He's stealing from their clients. Not stealing, Kincaid said softly, exposing. 2 days later, Kincaid was flown to London to assist with a coordinated sting operation. A man matching Rains' description had been spotted near Canary Wharf, meeting with a known money courier. When agents moved in, the man vanished into a service tunnel beneath the financial district. All they found was a briefcase, identical to the one he'd used before. Inside, a single folder marked Audit Division, Internal Affairs, and in it, personnel files. Kincaid's blood ran cold when she saw her own photograph among them. Her date of birth, training record, Treasury clearance number. Cole's file was there too. So were several agents from the Bureau's Financial Crimes Division.
How the hell does he have this? Cole muttered. Kincaid flipped to the documents. Each file had one thing in common. Every agent had once worked a case involving Harrington and Pierce. Ryan, she said quietly, he's not just targeting the firm. He's targeting everyone who ever looked the other way. Meanwhile, in a quiet villa on the outskirts of Lisbon, Daniel Rains was watching the news. The world was calling him the ghost of Wall Street, a financial phantom who'd humiliated the system without a single line of code or drop of blood. He didn't smile at the headlines. He just adjusted his tie and whispered, "You should have listened when I warned you." Next to him, a woman poured a drink. Ava Leclerc, the same courier caught in Zurich, now very much not under arrest. "You knew they'd let me go," she said softly. "You planned that too." Rains nodded. "Fear is only useful when people believe in it. They think I'm untouchable now. That's better than running." Ava studied him carefully. "So what's next?" He looked out the window. "We finish what they started." Back in Washington, Kincaid was losing patience. Leads were vanishing, witnesses recanted, and then the unthinkable. One of their internal agents, Mark Teller, went missing after a meeting with Treasury officials. His badge was found in the Potomac the next morning, but his laptop? Gone. When digital forensics checked his access logs, they found something explosive. Teller had accessed restricted financial databases under Kincaid's credentials, the same day Rains' bonds surfaced in London. Now, she was officially under review. Cole slammed the report onto her desk. "They think you're working with him. They're pulling us off the case." Kincaid rubbed her temples. "That's exactly what he wants." "Marla, listen to me. You've got to let this go. We'll clear your name, but if you keep chasing him, he'll bury you." She looked up, eyes steady. "He already tried."
That night, Kincaid received an unmarked package at her apartment. No return address. Inside was a flash drive and a single note. "If you want to know why I did it, look at file 207B. Her instincts screamed trap, but she plugged it in anyway. The drive contained a single encrypted video file, timestamped March 14, 2019. She pressed play. The footage showed a boardroom meeting inside Harrington and Pierce. At the head of the table sat the firm's CEO, Charles Harrington, surrounded by executives and compliance officers, including Daniel Rains. The audio was faint, but one phrase came through clearly. "If the numbers don't fit, make them fit. No one audits us, not really." The video ended abruptly. Kincaid leaned back, shaking. It wasn't just theft, it was a cover-up. One Daniel had tried to expose years before. He hadn't stolen the bonds to get rich. He'd stolen them to reveal the corruption buried in the system that destroyed him. But before she could copy the file, her laptop went black. A message appeared on the screen. Unauthorized access detected. This device has been locked. Then another message, a live one. Agent Kincaid, we need you to come with us. Two men in dark suits stood outside her door. Treasury Internal Affairs. But something in their eyes felt wrong. Kincaid grabbed her jacket, slipped the flash drive into her boot, and whispered to herself, if Daniel's right, then the FBI isn't the only one being played. Hours later, Cole received a call from an unknown number. Static. Then a man's calm voice.
Agent Cole, you're looking for Marla Kincaid. She's safe, for now, but the people you work for aren't who you think they are. Who is this? Cole demanded. The voice paused. Tell her I kept my promise. File 207B was just the beginning. The line went dead. Cole froze. The voice, it wasn't Daniel Rains. It was someone else. Someone with access to federal systems. That night in a high-security data facility in Arlington, Virginia, an alarm went off. A single vault door had been opened using a valid FBI override code, belonging to Agent Marla Kincaid. Inside, the entire archive of the Harrington and Pierce case files was gone. And on the vault floor, investigators found a printed note, written in the same neat handwriting as before. You've been chasing the wrong thief. 3 weeks later, somewhere in Geneva, the wind cut across Lake Geneva like a blade as Agent Marla Kincaid stepped out of the taxi. She was tired, running on caffeine and paranoia. The Bureau had suspended her pending investigation, her badge confiscated, her access revoked. But she wasn't done. In her jacket pocket was the only thing she had left, the flash drive labeled File 207B. Daniel Rains had exposed something bigger than a heist. He exposed them. In a quiet cafe overlooking the lake, Kincaid met Ryan Cole. He looked older, worn down by weeks of silence and suspicion. You realize we're breaking about a dozen laws just meeting here, he said, watching the door. I don't care, she replied. You saw what was on that video. The entire Financial Oversight Board was rigged. They cooked their audits for years. Cole nodded grimly. And Rains was their fall guy. He probably found the evidence, and when he tried to report it, they buried him. She handed him the flash drive. There's more. The video was just one piece. He left something else, something in Switzerland. Cole frowned. What? Kincaid leaned forward. A safety deposit box, registered under a false name, David Rowan, the same alias he used with Ava LeClaire.
2 hours later, they were inside a small private bank in downtown Geneva. The manager, polite but clearly nervous, led them to a secure room and slid a metal box across the table. Mr. Rowan instructed that this box be opened only by authorized investigators. Your names are on the list. Inside was a sealed envelope and a stack of bearer bonds, the last of the missing certificates. $50 million worth, untouched. Kincaid opened the envelope. Inside was a single handwritten letter. If you're reading this, you've already learned the truth. They stole from everyone, the government, the public, the system itself. I just gave it back. These bonds were never theirs. They were part of a falsified reserve meant to prop up fake audits, fake profits, fake stability. I didn't steal $50 million. I erased it. Now it's your choice. Tell them what I did, or tell them why. D.R. Kincaid looked up. He never cashed a single bond. He didn't take the money. Cole stared at the pile of paper, realization dawning. He wiped out a phantom fortune. If this goes public, entire banks collapse. Kincaid exhaled. Maybe that's the point. But before they could leave the bank, 2 black cars pulled up outside. Men in dark coats stepped out, not local police, not bureau agents, private operatives. The bank manager's face turned pale. I think you should go. Now. Cole grabbed the bonds, Kincaid pocketed the letter, and they slipped through the back exit into an alley as sirens wailed in the distance. Within minutes, the operatives stormed the bank. By the time they reached the vault, the box was empty. Back at their hotel, Cole secured the bonds in a travel case. We can't go to the FBI. If Internal Affairs is compromised,
they'll disappear this evidence. Kincaid nodded. Then we go public. Full exposure. I'll contact a journalist I trust. She opened her laptop, but before she could send the files, her screen flickered. A familiar message appeared. Nice work, Agent Kincaid. You found what they couldn't. Now it's time to finish what I started. Cole leaned over her shoulder. It's him.
A live video feed opened. Daniel Raines, older, thinner, sitting in what looked like a dark office. Marla, you're holding something dangerous. Those bonds aren't money. They're leverage, proof of corruption at the highest level. If they fall into the wrong hands, the people responsible will burn the evidence before they ever face justice. Kincaid gritted her teeth. Then why leave them at all? Because justice doesn't come from truth. It comes from fear. Cole stepped forward. Where are you, Daniel? Raines smiled faintly. Exactly where they think I can't be. Inside their system. And with that, the feed cut to black. The next morning, Kincaid and Cole boarded a train to Paris, hoping to meet the journalist. But halfway there, 2 agents from Treasury Enforcement entered the carriage. Marla Kincaid, you're under arrest for obstruction, data theft, and aiding a known fugitive. Before she could respond, a sudden jolt shook the train. Lights flickered, brakes screamed, and when the train screeched to a stop, the agents were gone. Cole blinked. What the hell? Then he saw it. On the seat beside Kincaid lay a single envelope with a familiar seal. Inside were 2 plane tickets to Lisbon and a handwritten note. They'll never stop chasing ghosts. Time to disappear. Lisbon, 1 month later. A quiet breeze rolled through the harbor. Ava Leclerc sat at an outdoor cafe, sipping espresso. Across from her, a man in sunglasses placed a folded newspaper on the table. On the front page, FBI Financial Crimes Division under investigation. Massive audit scandal exposed. Ava smiled. You did it. Daniel Raines shook his head. No, she did. He watched the ocean for a long moment. The system always finds a new villain. They'll call me one too. But as long as people believe in perfect systems, there will always be someone like me to remind them how fragile it really is.
Ava raised an eyebrow. And what about her, Agent Kincaid? Raines looked at the waves. She'll make her choice. Everyone does. 2 weeks later, Washington, D.C. The Bureau's press conference was short. Officials confirmed that multiple senior executives and government auditors were under investigation for falsifying records and laundering billions in fake securities. When asked about Daniel Raines, the spokesperson simply said, the suspect is presumed dead following a transport accident in the Swiss Alps. But off the record, every agent knew no body was ever found. That night, Marla Kincaid walked into her small apartment for the first time in weeks. On the kitchen counter was a plain envelope, no postage, just her name. Inside was a single dollar bill, serial number circled in red, and a note. Even a system built on trust can be bought for $1. Thank you for finishing the job. She sat in silence, the city lights flickering through the window. Outside, sirens echoed in the distance. Another crime, another investigation. But in that moment, Marla realized Daniel hadn't disappeared. He'd simply moved to where no one could find him, inside the cracks of every system that claimed to be perfect. If you think this story was intense, you're not ready for the next one. Hit subscribe, because in the world of crime and deception, the perfect heist is never really over.